something like gun control. There are a number of Democrats who are worried that whatever gets passed out of the Senate, that John Boehner may caucus his members and realize that maybe there may be a majority of Republicans that don't support gun control or any particular sort of amendment or whatnot related to it. In that circumstance, is that one, though, where you think that Boehner ought to go ahead and leave it to an up or down vote in the House?
That's a tough one. That could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I will say this, though, and I say this with all seriousness. I don't think anything that passes the Senate with Harry Reid, who's been a staunch supporter of the NRA for many years, and with all of his members who are in red states who are up for re-election, I don't think that you're going to get much from the president's proposals through the House. And I think that's why John Boehner and the House Republicans are taking a wait-and-see approach. So I do think that whatever comes through the Senate is going to be significantly watered down and might very, very well be palatable to John Boehner.
We're talking with John Feehery. He's a former spokesperson, communications director for House Speaker Denny Hastert, Republican, also a Republican strategist, does a lot of media consulting. I want to ask you a little bit, John, about the debt ceiling. There was news this past week that House Republicans at their retreat decided that they would go ahead and vote on raising the debt ceiling for 3 months, essentially punt the issue, kick it down the road, deal with issues like sequestration and the budget first. Wise move on their part?
I think so. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to we go back to this idea of a grand bargain. They don't want to have a debt ceiling, a long-term debt ceiling, pass on its own, because I think of that without significant spending cuts. But they also don't necessarily want to hold this up and have the nation go into default. And if they can kind of put this include it with the government continuing resolution that's going to be running out in March, and then have the sequestration, which is going to also kind of go into effect in March, then they can have a bigger discussion and have those have it not just holding the debt ceiling hostage, which is the kind of imagery you don't really want to do, because that, the fact of the matter is that it is the full faith and credit of the United States, and it has serious consequences. And despite what some of the Tea Party folks say, going into default is not really a very good option for the economy or for the government, with the rest of the world looking at, especially. So I think that this is pretty wise, and punt it down, and hopefully that you can get a bigger deal that has more significant spending cuts as part of that.
You mentioned the Tea Party. We've heard from a number of Republicans that there's some message management issues on the Republican side, and there's no, it's an open secret here in Washington that regardless of what the Republican leadership says during the week, that all you have to do is book either a Tea Party member or somebody on the Senate like Lindsey Graham on one of the Sunday talk shows, and they sort of torpedo whatever was the main message from Republicans that week. How big a problem is sort of the lack of a coherent message right now in the Republican Party, and sometimes the sort of the chaos, in part because you have so many different parts of the party, but everyone seems to sort of it makes it very difficult sometimes for any sort of single message to get through.
Well, it's this is always the challenge when you're don't have the bully pulpit. The president is the messenger for the Democrats, and he can drive that message very effectively. And when you're out of power, it's very difficult to get a coherent message any time. But this is even more challenging because the Republicans have two conflicting problems. First, they have to govern because they have the majority in the House, and they are responsible for actually making the trains run on time, at least partially. And then they also have kind of this minority mindset where you have this kind of faction within the Republican caucus that has very little interest in cutting any deal with President Obama. And so you have kind of the governing message on one hand, and then the kind of completely, hell no, I'm not going to go with this guy on the other. And then you have kind of, what does the Republican Party really stand for, which is a huge challenge for John Boehner, because the Tea Party guys, they are preaching a much different message than typical Republican message. They're much more isolationist, much more fiscally conservative. They want huge cuts in spending, and I think most Republicans want that as well. But I think the Tea Party message is let's create chaos in governance, and then from there we can cut a deal. And I don't think that's where John Boehner is.
How badly has John Boehner been wounded by the Tea Party members?
I don't think that's a good question, and I don't know if Boehner's necessarily been wounded per se. I think that actually there's a great deal of sympathy for John Boehner, and people understand that he's got a very difficult job. and he doesn't have a lot of cards because A, the Republicans lost the election, and B, he does his majority is not his grip on his majority is just not that solid. But that being said, if the Tea Party guys don't understand that there's got to be a simple message here. United, we can cut a good deal. Divided, the president will get his way. And I think that for the Tea Party guys, they've got to, decide that they're going to work within the system and not work, outside the system.
Finally, John, this show, Take Action News, is all about empowering people and how to influence outcomes, regardless of their political viewpoint or viewpoint on any particular policy. What is the best way that folks who are listening to the show or watching it, if they want to influence House Speaker John Boehner or any House Speaker or Senate Majority Leader, what is the best way for folks to do that?
Well, I'll just give you one example of what happened when my boss was Speaker of the House, and it was after the 9/11 attacks, and the 9/11 widows, launched a campaign to have fundamental reform of the intelligence community. And, there was some great resistance by the intelligence community and by the Speaker and by the Vice President and by a lot of folks having another layer of government, not the answer. But that being said,
well, just when we're getting to that great story, it sounds like we're losing John Feehery, maybe because of a bad cell tower. I know where you're going with the story, John. It was a remarkable story of, how a group of women banded together and were able to provide and apply direct pressure to House Speaker Denny Hastert, who was able to be convinced, along with a lot of other people in the Bush administration, that, there should be a reform, fundamental reform of the Intelligence Committee, and it started with a very much a grassroots effort by a lot of people who had no political experience. Anyway, John Feehery, I think we've lost you, but I want to say thanks to John, former communications director for House Speaker Denny Hastert. Interesting insights from him. You can follow him at John Feehery on Twitter. Coming up next, we will talk a little bit about filibuster reform in the Senate, and what is good filibuster reform versus bad filibuster reform, and how you can influence the outcomes of this debate. You're listening and watching the Take Action News.